For most Americans, Al Roker has always represented something steady in an increasingly chaotic world. Through political upheavals, national tragedies, cultural changes, and decades of evolving television, he remained the familiar face greeting millions each morning with warmth, humor, and reassuring calm. But behind the polished broadcasts and easy laughter, Al quietly faced a challenge that many people in their 60s understand deeply: how to survive in a world that suddenly seems to move faster, louder, and more aggressively than ever before. The modern media industry had changed dramatically around him. News cycles became relentless. Social media created constant public judgment. Younger personalities appeared overnight, chasing viral fame and instant relevance. Executives pushed for faster content, sharper reactions, and endless reinvention. Many longtime broadcasters struggled under the pressure, feeling as though decades of wisdom were being replaced by algorithms and fleeting attention spans. For a time, Al felt that pressure too. Friends and colleagues later described moments when he privately questioned whether authenticity still mattered in an industry increasingly driven by speed and outrage. He noticed how many public figures were exhausting themselves trying to remain constantly visible, constantly reactive, constantly perfect. The emotional fatigue became impossible to ignore. Yet instead of allowing the pressure to harden him, Al slowly developed a personal philosophy that would ultimately reshape not only his career, but his peace of mind. According to those close to him, the turning point came during several quiet conversations with his wife, Deborah Roberts. Deborah had witnessed the emotional toll modern media could take on even the strongest personalities. She understood how public scrutiny could quietly erode confidence over time. But she also recognized something Al himself had forgotten. The reason audiences trusted him after all these years was not because he competed with younger trends. It was because he never stopped being human. That realization became the foundation of what friends now describe as Al Roker's quiet philosophy for surviving modern media pressures. Instead of chasing every trend, he focused on consistency. Instead of reacting to every controversy, he protected his emotional balance. Instead of trying to outpace younger voices, he leaned into the wisdom that only time and experience could provide. In private, Al reportedly began saying something simple but powerful: "You don't have to be the loudest voice to be the most trusted one." That mindset changed everything. Rather than allowing the industry to dictate his self-worth, he began measuring success differently. Peace became more important than constant visibility. Authentic connection mattered more than temporary headlines, and perhaps most importantly, he stopped believing he needed to prove himself every single day. Many viewers noticed subtle changes in him over the years. He appeared calmer during interviews, more reflective, less interested in spectacle. While much of television became louder and more divisive, Al's presence remained remarkably grounded. Older audiences especially connected with that emotional steadiness because it reflected a truth many of them had learned in their own lives. Maturity often means learning which battles are no longer worth fighting. Behind the scenes, Deborah played an enormous role in helping him maintain that perspective. Friends close to the couple often described their relationship as emotionally stabilizing in an industry built on instability. When professional pressures intensified, Deborah encouraged Al to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with real life. Family dinners, quiet evenings, walks without cameras, conversations that had nothing to do with ratings or public opinion. Those routines became essential anchors in a world constantly demanding performance. Over time, Al also became more intentional about protecting his mental and emotional energy. He reportedly stopped obsessing over criticism and learned to accept that not every audience member would approve of him all the time. That lesson was especially difficult for someone who had spent decades trying to make people feel comfortable and welcomed. But with age came a deeper understanding. Constantly seeking universal approval is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself. Instead, Al focused on remaining sincere, reliable, and emotionally present. Ironically, that authenticity only strengthened the bond audiences felt with him. Many longtime viewers began seeing him not merely as a television personality, but as someone navigating aging, change, uncertainty, and resilience in much the same way they were themselves. His philosophy quietly resonated with people entering retirement, adjusting to new technology, or feeling overwhelmed by how rapidly the world seemed to shift around them. In many ways, Al's approach reflected an older generation's enduring belief that dignity comes not from constant reinvention, but from remaining grounded while the world changes around you. He did not reject modern media entirely. He adapted where necessary, learned new platforms, embraced evolving formats, and remained professionally engaged. But he refused to sacrifice his emotional center simply to stay relevant for another news cycle. That balance became the secret to his longevity. Younger broadcasters often burn out trying to be everything for everyone. Al survived because he understood the importance of knowing who he was beyond the spotlight. Colleagues later admitted they admired how he managed to remain kind and emotionally accessible despite decades of intense public exposure.
One producer reportedly remarked that Al carried himself with the calm confidence of someone who no longer needed external validation to feel secure. That emotional evolution may ultimately be his greatest achievement. By the later stages of his career, the philosophy guiding Al Roker had become larger than television itself. It became a lesson about aging with grace in a culture obsessed with speed and youth. It became a reminder that wisdom still matters, even in noisy times. And for many viewers in their 60s, his journey carried profound emotional comfort, because deep down they understood exactly what he had discovered. Surviving modern life is not about keeping up with every trend or winning every argument. Sometimes true strength comes from protecting your peace, staying authentic, and refusing to let the chaos of the world change the core of who you are.